The title of my research paper is Delivering the Message Using Full Sentences Produces a Better Quality in Consecutive Interpreting. While the word makes huge steps forward in every cultural, social, or whatever aspects, the language barrier appears as formidable, as challenging than ever before. Multilingualism is an intricate problem so far for nations' communication as it poses extraordinary challenge to human brain. Interpreting in complex has served and still does as a medium of research and raises debates in all its aspects. Consecutive interpreting, as a field of translation studies, is one of the basic keys to overcome the language barriers and let multilingual communication be as easy as it serves. Many authors of different interpretive fields have conducted studies and analyses on consecutive interpreting. Some of them, such as Herbert, Rosen, Seleskovich, refers to consecutive interpreting as the interpreting process during which the interpreter translates small parts of the speech. It is important to know what consecutive interpreting deals with. What does it mean? What consecutive interpreters deal with, and some of the difficulties they face. Does the hypothesis delivering the message using full sentences produces a better quality in interpreting stands true or not? And what are some of the factors that influence the consecutive interpreter's output? This study will go deeper by analyzing 10 cases of novices performing consecutive interpreting. How do they cope with terminology used in source language, stress, time pressure, listening process, and moreover, giving the message in full or fragmented sentences, and how it does influence the quality of interpreting? This paper will analyze in detail some possible failures regarding the work environment, the mental, emotional, psychological stress, and will provide comparing individual performances of consecutive interpreting for 10 novices. Serving as a review on interpreters' abilities and disabilities, this research will make an attempt to examine some of the factors that influence interpreting and its quality. This subject definitely hasn't grasped the interest of interpreters, clients, and researchers. That's why this research is of much more significance, as it gives important keys influencing negatively or positively interpreters' output nowadays, and is greatly described by example of a pilot study, and gives a voice to the call for more research over interpreters' output as well. This study will analyze 10 cases of novices performing consecutive interpreting. How do they cope with terminology used in source language, stress, time pressure, listening process, and moreover, giving the message in full or fragmented sentences, and how it does influence the quality of interpreting? These students worked with the same part. This part is unknown for them. The same limited part for all, and stress of the exam and this role in the quality of interpreting. The first chart shows the number of the students that are taking part in this study, and they are under observation. They are 10 novices, and they are not experts, they are just novices. They will be studied in the past given in the exam because it's never heard before, stress is higher and gives no time to improve your interpretation. It is the same part for all students. 9 from 10 students have delivered the message using full sentences, and only 1 has delivered the message in incomplete part. Here, if you pay attention to the chart, you see the number of candidates that are competent in the required language and are able to switch between the two languages without stumbling over words. These are novices, student number 2, student number 3, and student number 5. They have demonstrated complete competence in language. They have switched easily between languages, interpreted clearly and smoothly, and reflected tone, emotion, and nonverbal assigned appropriate to situation. They have interpreted in full sentences, and the quality of interpretation is really good. If you see this chart, you will know the number of students that adequately convey scent of the original message, and there are 4 students: student number 1, student number 4, student number 6, and student number 8. And 2 of them only partially convey sense of the original message, and these 2 students are students with numbers 7 and 10. There are some limitations to this study in terms of the study design. Novices that use full sentences in consecutive interpreting but do not have a good quality in interpretation, and novices that do not use full sentences but the quality of interpretation is good, and there is only one case. There is student with number 4 that has interpreted in fragments, not in complete sentences, but the interpretation is good. Does the hypothesis delivering the message using full sentences produces a better quality in interpreting stands true or not? And what are some of the factors that influence the consecutive interpreter's output? By analyzing 10 cases of novices performing consecutive interpreting, how do they cope with terminology used in source language, stress, time pressure, listening process, and moreover, giving the message in full or formatting sentences, and how it does influence the quality of interpreting? This paper shows that delivering of the message, we looked at some aspect of interpretation delivery, sound, word, or phrase, and flow of information. From 10 novices, 9 of them give the message in full sentences, but not all of them are competent in the required language. Not all these 9 interpret easily, reflect tone and emotion suitable to the situation, so the listeners find the situation easy to listen to. This study goes deeper by analyzing 10 cases of novices performing consecutive interpreting and divided these 10 cases in groups according to their quality. According to the appraiser of the professor that followed these novices in the final test of consecutive interpreting, these students are divided in 3 groups. The first group is made of 3 students: student number 2, student number 3, and student number 5, that demonstrated complete competence in language, switched easily between languages, interpreted clearly and smoothly, reflected tone, emotion, and nonverbal, sign appropriate to the situation. These students had a very good interpretation. The second group is made of 4 novices: student number 1, student number 4, student number 6, and student number 8, that demonstrated adequate competence in language, switched between languages without major problems, and made reasonable attempt to reflect suitable tone, emotion, and so on. These 4 students had a good interpretation. Only 2 from 9 novices, student number 7 and student number 10, demonstrated inadequate competence in language and had problems switching between languages. They came with not good interpretation. From 10 novices, only 1 student, student number 9, gave the message in fragments and not in complete sentences, and according to our observation and to professor's assessment, the student demonstrated adequate competence in language and had a good interpretation. Thank you for your attention.